Alright, look, you've seen the title of this video and you're wondering, how is everybody in the Premier League ruining football? How is someone like little old Paul Dummett ruining the beautiful game, apart from just dragging it down in terms of reputation, because he shouldn't really be. And it's not about the players, it's not to do with the guys you see out on the pitch, but the finances of the Premier League are spiraling out of control. With Manchester City already under investigation after a mass amount of breaches of financial fair play, and Chelsea definitely heading that way if they don't continue giving out 24-year contracts, it's starting to have an effect on the rest of the Prem, and the money is trickling down to the point where some of the mid-table sides in the Premier League are spending infinite amounts more than the rest of the elite clubs in Europe. Is England starting to monopolise the money in football? And is the Premier League making the beautiful game turn ugly? Bold of a man with this trim to call anything ugly, I hear that. But it's a question that's got to be answered, because if we look at the stats and the spends of some of these clubs in England, man, it is a joke. Let's not even go too far into the past just yet, because believe me, this has been happening for years. But let's just take the January transfer window that we've just seen as like a first piece of evidence. Chelsea were spending money as if they were that like 57-year-old in a nightclub. He's just trying to impress the girls with his money. I'm talking, they've got the sparklers out, you've got champagne popping all over the place. But the problem is everybody else in the club is a 56-year-old man. They've spent loads of money on Jaeger bombs left, right and center, but there's no women that they're actually impressing. Basically, there's no one to impress. That was a terrible analogy. Chelsea are that man. Chelsea have spent and bought players for copious amounts of money, and they're still 10th. None of us are impressed. I know Mudryk was very much linked to Arsenal, but they saw the price of the Jaeger bomb and said, absolutely not, lads. I shouldn't really put Mudryk and bomb in the same. What I'm trying to say is Chelsea spent a lot of money in comparison to the rest of the league and the rest of Europe as well. If we take into account Chelsea's spending in January, it comes to 329 million. But they're not the only ones that are culpable here, because the Premier League as a total spent 830 million. Yes, I know Chelsea is a large piece of that pie, but that's still over $500 million being spent by the rest of the Premier League clubs. In January, we've all seen our wage packets come in, after Christmas. We don't have any money in Jan, right? It goes dark at 1:30 p.m. You've just spent on getting all your family and friends Christmas presents. The New Year's Eve work drinks went a little bit too far. And just to put that into perspective, Chelsea spent more on their own than all of the other top 5 major European leagues put together. £128 million spent by Ligue 1 is second out of the leagues. And then we drop to the Bundesliga on 68 mil, La Liga on 32, and Serie A on 31. Enzo Fernandez was about 4 La Ligas on his own. One more transfer and Todd Boehly's bank are cancelling his debit card. And I'm not gonna lie, spending 100 mil on Draco Malfoy has not helped that situation.
Didn't Mummy ever tell you it was rude to eavesdrop, Potter?
But as I mentioned, this has been happening for a long time, guys. I don't think we really realised until January just gone. Because if we look at the net spend rankings, okay, the side that have spent the most in comparison to the amount they've recouped through transfers, you'll see that 10 of the top 12 are English clubs. Do you understand how mad that is? We've got Chelsea top on minus 665 million, aka, a loss of, over 600 mil on transfers. United there on 595 since 2018-19. Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Wolves. The entire top 8 is just English clubs, Wolves are above Juventus, boys. Fulham are above Barcelona.
So we don't have the capacity.
PSG actually exist, right? And they don't even feature here after doing this transfer window a couple of years ago. To be fair, PSG have got a net wage spend of about 6.8 trillion, so Todd Boehly's gonna be delighted seeing that his club are top of the table till he realizes it's a table describing how much money's left his bank account. But genuinely, West Ham being 5th in this list across all of Europe and being in the Premier League relegation zone needs investigating. I know they've been good over the last couple of seasons, but Jan Gianluca Scamacca, you've got blood on your hands, sunshine. Elsewhere in this list, and it's great to see that Tottenham will be getting top 4 somewhere at least. As for Liverpool, I'm fed up of seeing us in 10th place this season. As for Wolves, imagine being a new hot prospect from Portugal's under-23 squad and then having to live in Wolverhampton for the rest of your career. They'll be fuming.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! Birmingham is a fucking shithole!
No Nottingham Forest here because they've only just joined the Premier League, so, you know, previous seasons the net spend might not be that high. They would be top in terms of players bought, I'll be honest with you. They'll have to bring out the excuses when they get investigated by UEFA for signing a 163rd player in 2023.
Don't talk about spend, talk about net spend.
In terms of a side that's not here, obviously, Manchester City do not feature in the top 12. In fact, they're actually all the way down in 26th with a net spend of only 128 mil. Pep knows they'll be back in this table come next year.
We'll be there.
Do you care though? Who?
We will be there.
PSG?
We will be there.
And as for a side that's newly been injected, I guess, with oil money, Newcastle, they are up there in P6. Obviously, they've been sort of, you know, revolutionizing their team a little bit, but I do think they've spent pretty wisely. They haven't just gone out and spent £150 million on a player. Maybe the reason their net spend is so high is because they actually have no sellable assets to speak of, like from before the oil money days. Imagine trying to sell Matty Longstaff, bro. You'd have to pay somebody else to sign it. The owners of the club think he's part of the ground staff, fam. One thing for me that is swinging this, again, it's the finances. It's the wages that can be offered because the Premier League TV package is so powerful. Bro, Nottingham Forest got promoted via the playoffs and they're signing players for 35 mil. The money that you earn in the Premier League is different gravy to anything else across all of the top flights. French TV packages, Spanish TV packages, the Bundesliga TV packages. It is not even close. Combined with the fact that you've got multiple clubs in the country that are just massively rich now in terms of owners, like Chelsea, Newcastle, Manchester City. Bro, there's money everywhere in every single club in the Prem now. Bournemouth almost signed Zaniolo for like 35 mil and they're going to go down. And that's obviously having an impact in terms of the wages that players can expect when they come to the league. That in turn is then having an impact and skewing the level or quality of players that will join certain clubs in the Prem. This is why you've got stuff like Mislav Orsic, who came third at the World Cup with Croatia, is a seasoned goal scorer in European competition and signed for Southampton when they were bottom of the league. Weston McKennie joined Leeds on loan from Juventus. Mateus Cunha, who's been Bundesliga and La Liga stalwart for time, joined Wolves this season. I know Keylor Navas is aging, but he went from PSG to Nottingham Forest. Beckham signed for Brentford, for God's sake. What I'm trying to say is there are players now in Europe. Mislav Orsic, right? There's definitely a Bundesliga club out there that's in the top 6 that's probably in Europe right now that would have gone, yeah, we'll sign him. He's good enough. And he chose to go to Southampton. No offense to Southampton, but they're not gonna be in Europe next season. They're gonna be at Barnsley away. The mid-table and relegation threatened sides are genuinely as appealing as being a bench player at Juventus. And it's going to lead to all players just deciding, nah, man, we want to play in the Premier League instead. Managers across Europe are going to be looking around their dressing room, not even seeing a squad of people to play. Kylian Mbappe's got an easy run going and collecting his League On Player of the Season award when there's only 8 other players in the entire league. Diego Simeone is going to be furious looking at his phone, realizing his Atletico star man has just joined Bournemouth for 57 mil. It's ridiculous. And it does pose the question, is the Premier League ruining football overall, financially? Because nobody likes a monopoly, okay? And to be fair, whilst you've got major powerhouses like Real Madrid, like Barcelona, like PSG and like Bayern, you're still gonna have competition in Europe. I'm not saying anytime soon we're gonna get all English finals all over the place, and ultimately there will still only be space for 4 English clubs in the Champions League at a time. But it's starting to get to a point where clubs that aren't really rich outside of England cannot keep up with the likes of Fulham.
And then, man, they're the clubs.
And I feel like the Premier League is going nuclear to a point where if you finish 3rd in the Bundesliga, you might as well be finishing 18th in the Prem. And I don't know how I feel about that. If that's going to come at the detriment of your Lyons, your Villarreals, Atalantas, the tier just below those elite clubs in European, competitions, we might as well just start the European Super League here, bro. But let me know what you think down in the comments section, because this is, I feel like maybe quite a divisive issue. On one hand, it is great to have all these, sick players playing for sides that might go down, for God's sake, like Wolves and Southampton and Leeds and stuff. But are we risking really weakening the rest of Europeans' major leagues? Let me know what you think down in the comments section, as I mentioned. If you did enjoy this video, then feel free to slap a like on it, and of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. It really helps me out, when I next upload. You can also follow me on social media. It is at TheOfficialFNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.